Right, just to repeat that, as I was saying, several of you have asked me, where can I find APIs? This is one resource where you can go and search for various topics on what public APIs are out there that you can query either from your server or from your client. So this is one that you should be looking at. And I think this would be the first thing that I would do. Identify an API that would be useful for you, and start thinking about the various use cases that you want to implement. That also guided a little bit by the requirements in the from the assignment, right? From the project assignment. One of them is being able to search, right? Where you can type in some query, and it comes back with a collection of items, right? That you can then display on your application somewhere as a search result. And then some API that will allow you to uniquely identify one of those items that you can then ask it for more details about that particular item, right? Whether if it's sports, then you should be able to ask it for for football or rugby or whatever, right? And it comes back with perhaps the latest scores or the latest teams that you can then display as a search result, right? And then you should be able to, those APIs should be able to identify uniquely each one of those results so that you can then ask for more details for that particular sports team or for that particular scores results, right? And then in a separate details page, you should be able to pull down, right, those details from the same API, okay? So those are some of the more common, or those are the two use cases that are required for the assignment. But you could certainly identify more use cases, right? So identify your use cases. Make sure that the API supports those use cases. Most of the APIs are going to provide read-only use cases, right? Where you can read data, but they're not going to allow you to post data, right? Or create new data. For instance, for a lot of the movie APIs or the sports APIs, they allow you to read, right, the things about movies, right, the reviews about movies, and the cast and the director and images. All those are mostly read-only operations, right? They're not going to allow you to create a new movie, right, or provide new information about a movie. That's why what we do is that our application builds on that API, right, and any reviews or any additional data is being stored in your databases, right? You're kind of like augmenting those APIs with your own website, okay? Anyway, so that's what I would do first. Identify those use cases, make sure that the API supports them. You don't want to be, a couple weeks from now when you start, really working on your project, to identify that the API doesn't support certain use cases, right? All right, so definitely identify this right away. Okay, so let's go back to the current assignment that, as you know, I've moved it to the end of this week, right, November 6th, right? So that'll give us a chance between today and Thursday to finish up covering and talking about some of the techniques and technologies that you'll need to complete it. One of them was the capability of being able to upload images, right? Because one of the widgets asks you that you can upload images, right? Using the technique that we're going to talk about today, you can upload anything you want, okay? But in particular, we're going to be working with images. So I give you the source code that you'll need, right? So everything's here. Everything you need is already as part of the assignment description. So for instance, for upload, let's look at that. Upload, there it is, right? So this says enhance the image widget that should support file uploads. Okay, so you already worked on that on the previous assignment. That you created you're using a file input field, right? That allows you to navigate. But in the previous assignment, it didn't actually upload. It only allowed you to navigate your file system. Yes, it didn't actually upload. So this is asking you enhance it, right? And the source code that I'm giving you here is already allows you to do that. So I'm going to just copy verbatim from here, right, with very minimal changes, and you should be able to grab this and modify it for your own purposes. Okay? All right. So let's create here in the public directory. Let's in the lecture folder, I'm going to create a directory. I'm going to call it uploads. Upload. Okay. And in here, I'm going to create an index file. This is the equivalent of your widget editor, right? Your widget editor. So I'm going to call it here index.html. So inside of your template, which would be your widget edit or your widget image edit, okay, in there you can replace your file input field. You can replace it with this entire form. Okay, so I'm just going to paste it right here. There it is. And what this form is going to do is that it's going to generate a post to this URL. Okay, it's going to notice that it's using the file type input field, which is going to let you navigate to a file, yes, to your local file system, and then has a button here that if you click on that submit button, it's going to grab that file, right? It's going to attach it to the post that's going to send it over to the web service. Okay, and there has to be a web service on the other end waiting for that incoming post. Okay, everybody okay? And it's going to attach it, and it's going to call the part in the body, right? And the body is going to send quite a few pieces of information. One of them is going to be the attached file that's going to be sent over through the post, right? And that part is going to be named as my file, okay? Or you can call it whatever you want. My image, my picture. So on the server, I'm going to be able to retrieve the file from the attachments using this name, okay? All right. Other things that I'm going to be sending over are some metadata information. One of them is going to be the ID of the widget. This is so that I can associate this image to that widget. So I know that that image, right, that you just uploaded, it's for that widget. Okay. So that next time I render the widget, right, and I'm iterating over all the widgets, right, when I get to that image widget, I'll need to know, what's the URL for that widget? Okay. Also, I'm sending over the width of the image, which is the 100% or 50% field that it's already in the editor. Okay. Right now, I'm going to hard code these, but notice that these are Angular. They're supposed to be inside of an Angular template, right? And the controller is feeding these values. Yes. Right. I'm going to put here just, 50%. And I'm just going to use a bogus widget ID. Right? So this is going to be widget 1, 2, 3. Okay? And since this is an experiment, in the lecture, I'm going to make it so that it uploads right here in the same upload. So I'm going to have on the server, I'm going to have somebody listening for this, right? So this is going to be maybe example/upload. So on the server, somebody needs to be listening for this incoming post. Yes? Well, right now there isn't. Let me run this index. Well, let me restart the server. Let me navigate to this. So I'm going to call this maybe h1 upload example. So let me navigate there. So it would be where? Where is this file? It's under public lecture. So it's lecture. Lecture upload. So upload. And then the index file. Right? Index.html. So there it is, right? So there it is, my choose file. Notice it's not using any bootstrap styling or anything. Obviously yours will be, right? We'll be using form control and whatnot. So these are the bare bones widgets that come with the out of the box in your browser, right? So let me just add maybe a break here. So I'm just moving the button down here, and I should be able to navigate to an image. So for instance, this image, So notice that right, it puts the name of the file there, right? That's going to attach. Let's inspect the network of the traffic that goes. If I submit, right, notice that it's an error because on the server side, nobody's listening for this /API, /example, /upload. Nobody's listening to that, right? There's nobody on the server side. But let's take a look at what was sent, right? What was sent to the server. So on the server side, the browser noticed that it sent over. It sent a multi-part request, right, to a post request to the server that includes an attached image that has that name, Angular JPEG, plus some form data that was part of it, such as the width 50%, the widget ID 123, right? So that was sent over to the server. The server needs to be able to retrieve these things, right? So let's write the server side for this, okay? So on the server side, I'm going to create a little server side. Maybe, let's see. So this is the lecture on the client side. Let me create a small a folder where I can put some server-side code that I want to execute for my lectures, right? So I'm going to create a little app.js, right? And in there, I'm going to create my server-side code that wants to listen for these examples, right? These lecture sides, right? So this will be a module. I can have any number of modules. Module that exports equal function. It's going to receive as argument the express instance, right? That we instantiate at boot time, right? When the server's booting. So I'm going to pass it. And on the server side, I already give you code that you can use, right? Here we say that on the server side, you can do the following, right? In that module that exports, you can copy this. You can write this verbatim, right? You can copy and paste it in here. Okay? And what this is saying is that it's going to load a library called Multer. Multer is a Node.js module that is used for being able to parse and manipulate multi-part requests, right? Requests that come from the server that have multiple parts, including files and other meta information that is coming from the client. Okay. By default, you're not going to have Multer installed locally on your machine. Okay, you're going to need to install it. So I have a comment here not to forget to install it. Okay, you need to type npm space install multer -- save. That will install it locally and make an entry into your package JSON file. Okay, so don't forget to do that, otherwise it'll complain when you run it. And Multer allows you to configure. Allows you to configure. If I see any uploads, right? If I see a message coming, where should I put it? Where should I put those files if you're uploading these files? So here you can configure. So I'm going to say that I want to configure and put it. Let's see, right here, this directory. I'm going to load it right there. Where is it? It's under public lecture upload. Yes, that's where I want to put my image. You can put it wherever you want. All right. I think the assignment tells you to put it under an uploads directory under the public directory. Right. I think a better place to put it might be under the uploads directory under the assignment directory, right? Because you might have one directory maybe for your project and one directory maybe for your assignment. Yes, so that they're not, writing to the same directory. Okay? But it's up to you, okay, where you actually want to put it. So to configure it, this directory is, this path here is relative to the app.js file, right? Where is the app.js file? It's under right here. It's under the lecture directory. See that? Under the root. Yes? Right? So to refer to this directory, I'm going to have to do what? Go up one, then down to public, down to lecture, then down to upload. See that? So I'm going to say, okay, I want to go, I'm going to go up one, then down to public, then down to lecture, down to upload. That's where I want to put all my files that are being uploaded and that Multer is configured. Multer is currently configured to upload things there. Okay, now we're going to configure on the server side. We're going to configure a response to this incoming request, right? So I'm going to copy that incoming request, and on the server side, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to respond to that incoming post. Right? I'm listening for the incoming post, and I know Multer has been configured. We created a configuration for Multer for that upload, and so that incoming upload post, right? Multer is going to intercept. It's going to intercept that incoming request, right? Incoming post, and it's going to look for a particular part of that incoming post that is tagged as my file. Notice that we tagged it. The input field. We tagged it as my file, right? So I'm saying Multer intercept this incoming post request, right? Extract that upload that is named as my file. So what's it going to do? It's going to extract the file. It's going to parse all the bits, the zeros and ones that are being streamed from the client, streamed onto the server, and it's going to copy all that and copy the file into this directory. Yes? Everybody okay? Right? After the file has been copied from the remote machine from the client machine to the remote machine, once that occurs, we're going to notify the server saying that it's done. We have uploaded the file. The upload is done, right? And it calls this upload image right here, right there. And this is like a callback function to let you know that everything's okay. We were able to upload, right? And then from here you can read all the afterwards, right? Everything after it has happened. You can read things such as, what was the original name of the file, right? What was the original size of the file that was copied over, right? Where is it right now? Where was it copied onto? Okay, what's the current file name? Because what happens is that the names, Multer is going to rename the file. Okay, it's going to rename it with a random name, right? It's going to give it a random name because since you're not the only one uploading, there might be thousands of people uploading, right? And my file name might be the same as your file name. Yes? And if we don't rename it, it might be that your file name overwrites my file name. Yes? So Multer just renames it into some random file name. Okay? So let me show you. Let's restart the server. Actually, we created this module, but we never loaded this module, right? We need to load it from where? From server, right? From server.js. So let's do that. Server.js. Server.js. We're going to load that module. Let's require, and it's under, was it lecture? Yeah, lecture slash and then app.js. There it is. So it's going to instantiate that module and it's going to pass it as argument the server. Yes. Oh, thank you. Actually, it's the .js is optional. It's smart enough to know that it's JavaScript. Yep. All right, everybody okay? All right, awesome. All right, so it's going to load that, and let's see if this works. So let's restart the server, and it should upload right here. Okay, so let's let me close that, and I want him to be in the same desktop. Okay. So there it is. So that's the directory, and we're going to look at the network here. Let's go back. Let's refresh, and let's upload Angular. There it is. Okay, and if you say upload, okay, looks like it was successful. It didn't complain. Oh, notice that it's spinning. It's spinning, so it looks like from the server we never responded anything. We never responded. But let's look at here, and notice that the file appeared. There it is. See that? With a random name, right? We know it was a JPEG, I believe. Was it a JPEG? Yeah, so let's rename the file just so that we can open it. Or maybe we can double click it. Yeah, it doesn't know what it is. It doesn't know what the MIME type is. So let's rename it to be .jpeg. Now it knows that it's a JPEG, so this is the original image, right? It was an Angular image that I uploaded. The server, notice that the client is still spinning, right? Because it never received a response from the server. So let's fix that real quick. So on the app.js, let's send back response.sendback the file, this my file, right, as a JSON object. Back, this is like the meta information that the server was able to parse out the original file name, where it ended up being copied, the size, the MIME type, and things like that. Other meta information that we passed in there as hidden input fields. See the index here, the 50% and the 123 as the ID. Notice that those are available from the body. See that? Those fields are also available from the body, so you can retrieve them and then make entries into your database or make entries and modify your relationships. Right? So let's reload. So let's try to do that again. Let's try it again. So let's go back. Let's refresh. Let's browse for yet another image. Angular screenshot, jQuery logo. No, that's a jQuery mark. Let's try that. I don't remember what that is. Let's upload the image. And notice that it responds with the metadata. See that? And the metadata is that the original file name was jQuery marklight.gif, right? This information can be stored in the database so that even though the files were renamed with some bogus names, the database remembers what the original name was, right? So it could be shown to the user, right? The user could, they know that file name that they uploaded, right? So you can show the same file name to the user even though the actual file is called something else. Make sense? Right? You just have to be smart about mapping, right? These bogus names, right? In the database, you would store the name of the file. You would never actually store the image in the file, right? You would store the name so that you can always refer to that image later on in the database, right? What else we have here? The size, right? 16K, right? We have the new file name, right? Again, that can be stored in the database. And where was it copied to? It was copied into the uploads directory. This is the physical location of the file, right? The physical location of the file, which could be used when you render the images. It could be used to render that image, right? That's about it. Okay. All right, makes sense. So I think you have enough. I think you have enough here in the assignment, right? To get that upload working for the image widget. Make sense? Any questions? All right, everybody good? Yes. The widget? No, you would do it. You would do it in the widget service. Yeah. Well, you would do it in the service on the server, right? On the widget service.server.js. That's where you would do it. Yes. Does it say here? I forget. Yes, that's where you would do it. Yep. I was just demonstrating generic, right? A generic solution. Also, this assumes that this is the file, the directory structure. You might have a slightly different directory structure. Yes. But this is assuming that particular directory structure. What else? Remember, Flickr is not for this assignment. I'm going to move that to the next assignment. Okay. Yes. Yes, exactly. Right. When you upload it, it goes back to the widget list, and when it renders, right, you should be able to see the new image that you just uploaded because it references, right, the source of the image should be model.widget. whatever, I forget, URL, I think it is, URL. And that URL is actually an image, or the source of the image that is you just uploaded. Okay? Say it again. No, it should just give you a relative URL, because until you don't upload it, you don't know what the URL is, right? It should perhaps maybe just well, actually, when you're creating it, it should leave it blank, right? Once you upload it, right, and then later on you come to edit it, that field should be populated, right? It should be slash user slash yada yada, the whole URL that would allow you to retrieve that image. Actually, no, it should not start with slash user, right? It should be relative, right? It should be slash assignment slash uploads slash and then the name. Yep. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to cover is that one of the requirements in the assignment, remember, Flickr is for the next assignment, right? Not this one. We're just slightly behind, anyway, so we'll do that next week for the next assignment. So the other requirement was to make the widgets sortable so that you can move them around. Okay, with using jQuery, and yeah, so that you should be able to sort the widgets. The current implementation of the widget list. The current implementation is right here, right? Widget list. It's this one, right? Which is iterating over all the widgets, right? And as it iterates over the widgets, it uses ng repeat and then ng switch and whatnot, right? Depending on the type of the widget. Oh, this is website. Sorry, is this website? Widget list. Why does it say websites? Did I name this wrong? Oh, that's the left-hand side. Sorry. Yeah, so on the right-hand side, it's iterating over the widgets, and as it iterates over the widget, it uses ng switch to render either a header or a YouTube or an image and whatnot. Yes, and we want to make these sortable, right, so that you can move them around. So a really quick discussion on sortable. So on the lecture, let me create for you an example of jQuery. Right, we did talk about jQuery a little bit last week, and so let's create here an example of some of the behaviors that you can work with. So for instance, let's do sortable HTML. No, not a directory. Is this a directory? No, a file. I need a file, an HTML. So new HTML sortable. Okay, so I'm going to call this sortable. This would be h1 sortable. So as an example, let's look at a generic line item list with item 1 and then a couple of these, right? So this would be perhaps 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we want to be able to make these sortable, right? So if we navigate to this page right now, right, you just have a simple sortable list, right? And part of the assignment says, well, you have a list of widgets, right? And you want to be able to move them around. That's right now. Obviously, you can't drag and drop any of these, right? So to do it, to make it so that you can sort them, you can very quickly load the jQuery library to do this, right? So to do that, we can use the script tag, and we can load jQuery. Let's see, are we in the right place? I don't believe so. JS, no. Go up further, maybe. No, we went too far up. No. Hello. No. Where are we? We're here. We're gonna go up 1, 2. Okay, I'll go up 2, JS, and then jQuery. There it is, jQuery. All right, and then let's load now the other library, right? That provides all these nice behaviors, which is the jQuery UI library. Also, the jQuery UI library expects that you have loaded a CSS that is accompanying this library, which is the jQuery CSS library, right? Which is a style sheet. Okay, everybody okay? So we've loaded it. Right now it still doesn't do anything, right? There's nothing. But now jQuery is loaded, right? Now it is jQuery is loaded. It declares a global variable called the jQuery variable, which because we are very lazy, we don't actually type out jQuery. It needs 7 keystrokes. Instead, we bring it down to just two easy keystrokes. So we can, for instance, load, use jQuery, and use this very powerful jQuery function to, for instance, declare or register a callback on when the page loads. Right? We can say, hey, when the page loads, notify me so that I am guaranteed that the DOM has loaded, and I can now manipulate the DOM. So, for instance, this might be calling a function init, and the function might be implemented down here. You will find in a lot of documentation, you will find instead this notation, where the function is an anonymous function, right? Declared right inside of the $sign in parentheses. I find this syntax disturbing, but nevertheless, it's widely used, right? Notice the function right inside of the $sign, which is perfectly fine. Let's leave it like that, right? You should start feeling comfortable with the syntax because it's all over the place. All right, so in this function we might say alert hello from jQuery. So if we reload, the hello from jQuery starts up. So by the time this alert pops up, we are guaranteed that the DOM has loaded. Okay, notice that that's very important because the script tag executes before the HTML gets parsed by the browser. You see that? Right? If we try to manipulate the DOM from here, right, too early, jQuery is not going to find anything in the DOM. Right? For instance, one of the things that we'd like to be able to do is grab that UL over there. Right? We could say, for instance, we could want to be able to do something like this. Grab the UL. Right? And we can say alert the UL. So we can say put it in a local variable UL. Right? So let's see what do we get, UL. Right, so we do that, alert. It says object. Actually, let's use the console instead. Right? Let's do the console. Console log. If we inspect and look at the console, and let's see what we grab. Notice it says length 0. I didn't find any UL. I didn't find any UL. What do you mean that you didn't find any UL? There are ULs on the document. Where are they? Oh, well, it's because the script executed too soon, right? The DOM is not yet found anywhere, right? But if I move the script down here at the end of the body, and I run this again, right? Notice that the length is 1, meaning I did find one. I did find one, right? It's because the DOM has been created, the UL is in the DOM now, and it finds the UL in the DOM. Make sense? Question? Yeah, so that's exactly what this does. Oops, sorry. This $sign function is exactly what it does. It registers this function with document on ready. Meaning, call me back, call this function where the document has been already parsed. So now, because I use this here, I know, well, actually, let's put this in here. Let's put it in here, right? And not the alert. Now I can put the script wherever I want. It doesn't really matter where I put it, at the bottom, at the top. It doesn't really matter, right? Because now I can put it back here, right? And it does work. I get the UL, length 1, even though the script is above the DOM. Make sense? Because it's registered the function with the unready, document ready event handler. That makes sense? Everybody still with me? Right? You understand the? Nevertheless, even though this is the appropriate place to put the scripts, okay, you will find oftentimes that all these scripts are actually where? Most of these scripts are actually, you'll find a lot of implementations, they're actually declared way down at the bottom of the body, right? Even though the proper place to put them is in the head, right? You'll find that most websites will put them at the bottom because these JavaScripts, some of these libraries are pretty big, okay? If you put them at the top, the browser is going to start downloading them, right? And won't start rendering the page until some of these files have downloaded, right? And so it will add a couple milliseconds for your page to render, right? And you want to shave off as much time as possible for your page to render, right? Don't wait for these libraries to load, right? Put something in the client's face as quickly as possible, right? So that users can consume this content while the browser is still loading the libraries in the background. Make sense? So you'll find this very often this way. All right, everybody good? All right. So notice that what's in this. So notice that this $ function is pretty powerful. It depends. Whatever you pass it, it depends what you pass it. It'll do different things. If you pass it a function, it'll interpret as a unload event handler. Yes. If instead you pass it a string, it'll interpret it as different things. It depends what that string contains, right? It'll look at this and say, okay, what is this UL? What is that UL? Well, if it's just plain old like this, right, it'll say, it must be, it'll interpret it as a CSS rule, right? It says, okay, this means grab all elements, all UL elements. How many are there? There's one of them right there, right? So this will give me a reference to that UL element right there. And once I have that, I can assign it. I can assign it to a variable, or I can immediately work on it. For instance, one of the things that I could do is that I could append another item, right? I can append another item at the end of my UL. I can say line item 1, 2, 3. LI, right? If I run this again, notice that I have item 1, 2, 3. But I have dynamically added this item to the UL. Notice that it was not there. It wasn't hard coded there. It's now hard coded in the code. Yes. But notice that again, these functions are very powerful, right? I can create the line item first. Line item. I can say I can rewrite this so that I have it here. I can create DOM elements on the fly, right, and assign them to variables li. Notice that this $. This string is this $. Is the same this $. Over here, right? Over here, the string was interpreted as what? As a CSS rule, right? But notice that now I have another string. Yes? But now I don't have a CSS rule. What do I have? I actually have a string that represents an element. You see that? So that string is parsed, and depending on what you pass it, it's reinterpreted. Right? Over here, it's reinterpreted as a DOM element. I'm going to dynamically create a DOM element in memory. I'm going to assign it to li, right? And then I can use ul. Then append is a function, it's a jQuery function which is added to the UL elements, right? Once I created it, and I can append li, right? So which does the same thing, right? It just appends 1, 2, 3. Or I can copy and paste and add strings right here so that I can create dynamic items as I go. Very powerful. Allows me to very quickly modify the DOM. Very powerful. Everybody still with me? Okay. So I can manipulate the DOM, or I can also give it behaviors, such as I can say UL. I can turn on certain behaviors. For instance, I want it to be sortable. Right? And sortable. So all these functions, the append, all that, those are all core functions that are declared in the core library, the jQuery core library. Okay. Whereas these behaviors such as sortable and draggable and droppable and selectable, and all sorts of widgets, right? All those are declared in the extensions library, the UI extensions library. Okay. Here we loaded both the core. We need the core, and then the UI. Right. So sortable turns on the sortable behavior for UL. Right. What it does is that it makes all the children underneath sortable, so you can move them around. So for instance, if I refresh, now these all become movable around. I can move them around, right, and it resorts them. So I can. But notice what's happening here. The DOM is being manipulated, right? Right. If I look at the elements, notice that they are being the order of these items. Notice that they have been manipulated in the DOM, right? If I move this at the top, and notice that indeed is being moved at the top. See that? This directly interferes with what Angular wants to do, right? Angular has a mapping of a model, an array of objects, that it keeps track on what objects map to what DOM element is being rendered, right? If somebody is underneath moving things in the DOM, Angular still has a model representation, that it has a particular order, right? And so you're going to have two libraries competing for the DOM, right? So you have to be careful on how you integrate these two libraries. Yes, yes, we're going to use jQuery for all these behaviors, but it has to play nice with Angular. So let's look at the widgets, right? Oh, actually, before we look at the widgets, these don't have to be ULs, right? They can also be divs. So you can have a div, right, where maybe these are the widgets, perhaps, and then you might have different divs with each widget. Maybe this will be the YouTube widget, right? Right, and this will be the image widget, right? So this might be H2 YouTube widget, and this might be the image widget, right? Image widget. Okay, you can make anything sortable, right? It doesn't have to be the yes. Yeah, that's exactly what we're gonna do. Yeah, let's do that. So I was saying that it doesn't have to be the UL. The UL is kind of like a natural thing that's a list of items, but divs too can also be anything can be sortable, right? You need a parent, right, and then the children can then be sorted, right? So for instance, we can get a hold of the widgets here, right? Widgets is a class. So to grab it, I need a class selector, right? I can say dot widgets. That grabs what? It grabs this div right here, right? It grabs that div using a class selector, right? That's the dot, right? That's the dot right here. Once I grab it, I can then turn on sortable. Right? I can turn on sortable, right? So if I refresh, there's the YouTube widget and the image widget, and I can move them around. I can move them around. Yes, makes sense. Everybody okay? And there's all sorts of configurations, and I encourage you to look at the API documentation. Anyway, now that we know how to do this, now that we're dangerous with this new sort of techniques, let's go back to the widgets, right? So the widgets, in the widgets we have the HTML. And the way we were rendering the widgets, we had a engine repeat there, right? That was, depending on the type of the widget, it was copying this div, right, and pasting it over and over and over, right, rendering either as a YouTube or an image. So the parent here is what? The parent, this is the repeat, right? Meaning that these are all going to be the children, right? So this is going to be taking this, copying and pasting this over and over and over and over, once per every widget. But the parent is this one right here. That's a parent of all the child widgets. Make sense? Right? So this one is the one I want to make sortable. Right? I want to make it sortable. So notice that I've tagged it with this class wham-widgets. See that? And that's what I'm going to use from jQuery to grab it, right, from the controller. The controller, here's a controller, right? The controller is here, what we could do is grab. We can use jQuery right here. Let's we could say grab. Right? What was the class? Grab those widgets. Grab those widgets. Let's see if we got any, and put them here. Var. We can say var widgets, a local variable, and let's do a console dot log widgets. Okay, so if we navigate to widgets, which I believe it's what should be assignment, hash, user, then website, then some website and widgets. Okay, so I believe these are the widgets. There they are. And somewhere in the console, let's grab the console. Inspect. There are the consoles, and the console is, there it is. There's a jQuery. It's grabbing that UL, that div that says .wham widget. There it is. It's this console right here. And in there, we should have, yeah, there it is. So if we hover over it, notice that it highlights the entire page, right? So it's that large div. And we could just plainly just turn on sortable right here. Sortable. And sortable is going to turn on the sorting of all these widgets on the left-hand side, right? Notice that I can now drag them around. I could just start moving all the child divs around. Let's make this a little smaller. We can move the video up and down, or these lorem ipsum down. You might want to be able to turn on perhaps that because it's a phone, perhaps we want to make it move its up and down only, right? And certainly you can turn on options such as, let's move this down here and say that the options might be that I want to turn on the axes, right? I want to turn on just Y, the Y axis. I want to be able to move things only vertically, right? Not left and right. Yes? Right, if you have a grid, what you would do is that there's an example on jQuery UI, but basically it's they would render from left to right, and then when there's no more, it would just wrap. Right? So you would change it from block, display block to display inline, right? So that they would render from left to right, and then they would just wrap around, right? And now you can treat them as a regular UL. You can move them around into position just like a grid. Yeah. Actually, the assignment later on asks you to treat them as grids so that you can put columns side by side, right? But we're not doing that just yet. Okay. So if I refresh this, now I can move it up and down, but I can't move left and right. I can't move it left and right. All those options are available in jQuery UI. jQuery UI, if you go to sortable, right, you can look at the API documentation, and here are the various options. So axis is just one of them, right? You can turn on only the x-axis, so you can move left, right, or by default it's both, right? You can drag them anywhere. Okay. Anyway, so I've shown you how to do this, and you can move them around, and that's okay, but there's a problem. Angular still thinks that this title is at the top. If I move things around and move them at the bottom, Angular doesn't care. It still thinks that that DOM element is at the top. Okay, somebody just took over the DOM very rudely. So there's a proper way of doing this, right? That you should not have these two libraries competing for the DOM. So instead of doing this way, right? I'm going to comment this out. I'm going to leave it there just as an example that you could use. Instead, what we need to do, right, is to use directives. Okay, directives is a mechanism that Angular allows you to declare. Just rewrite the entire HTML language. Right? If you don't like the current behavior of the HTML language, you can rewrite its behavior, right? Or create your own HTML elements. Okay, your brand new HTML elements. So let's do that. What we'd like to be able to do, perhaps, is in the widget list, tag it either perhaps something like wham widgets, and then associate some code with this class, or associate with a brand new element. Maybe call it sortable or something, right? Or maybe widgets, right? You can declare new elements, right? Or declare brand new attributes. Instead call it widgets. As attributes. Either as attributes or elements or classes, you can invoke, right? You can invoke Angular behavior, right? You can tie elements or classes or attributes to Angular behavior or Angular JavaScript code, right? So let's do that. Let's do that. So, for instance, I like to be able to create something generic that says maybe wham-sortable, right? So that if I apply this class to any element, it'll make it sortable. Right? That would be very powerful. Right? That'd be nice, right? So I just apply this class, and boom, the behavior is added to it. Okay, very nice. And that's exactly what Angular does. All these ng switch and ng repeats and all these attributes, right, that are not part of the core HTML language, those are directives. Those are Angular directives, right, that tie this attribute with JavaScript code that takes over the DOM, okay, in a very powerful way. So let's create our own directive. Okay, let's create our own directive. Let's create a directive that is going to be triggered by this class. So let's start with that. Let's go into assignment, and let's create a directive, a directory called directives. And let's create a directives for this assignment. So let's create it. We'll call it wham directives.javascript. Okay, and it'll be its own little module function. So same thing, right? It starts off with an iffy, and in here is going to use Angular, and it's going to declare its own module. So this is a module that could be reused, right? You could maybe sell this module perhaps, right? So that, hey, instead of using jQuery, sortable, blah 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 blah, just use this class, and boom, it's sortable. All right, that'd be really cool. So let's call it. Let's declare in Angular a module. Let's call it the wham. Call it wham directives or something. Directives. Okay. It's a top level module, right? It doesn't depend on anybody else. So it's meant to be loaded by other modules, okay? And here I'm going to declare a directive called wham sortable, okay? Implemented in a function of the same name, okay? And here I'm going to have a function called wham sortable, okay? And I'm going to say console log hello from sortable. Okay, I'm going to load this library from my index page. Let's load it. So it'll be something like script source directives wham directives. So we have loaded it now. It's now part of it. And from our library, from our top level application, we're going to make our application depend. We'll make it depend on this brand new module we just created called, what do we call it? Wham directives. Is that the name we called it? All right, so here you have a brand new module we just created. We're going to load it as us. We are our application is now dependent on this other module, right? So we're kind of registering this module with our own module. It's going to be loaded. Now, what's going to happen is that anywhere in the code where you see wham-sortable, wherever you see either that as an element, or as a class, or as an attribute, okay? Anywhere where you see that, this code will execute. There's a naming convention, and the naming convention is that these names follow camel casing, right? Meaning each word is capitalized, the first letter is capitalized, except the first one, right? And that is mapped to the HTML, right? It maps to the same name, but everything is lowercase, and the words are separated not by uppercase letters, but they're separated with a dash. See that dash? Okay. The reason for this is that HTML and JavaScript have different naming conventions, right? In JavaScript, you can't use dashes for names, right? For file names, right? But in HTML, it's a perfectly good name, right? Typically in JavaScript, you use camel casing as opposed to dashes, right? So this naming convention creates this mapping, right? This indirect mapping. So anywhere where I see WAM sortable, for instance, let's in our example here in widget list, we have WAM sortable, right? And if we reload this, it says there it is, hello from sortable. See that? So that code was loaded because of that class. If I remove this class and I reload, notice that it doesn't say hello. All right. So yeah. So we've shown you that we can tie, right, HTML classes or elements or attributes, right? We can tie it to JavaScript. And on Thursday we'll see how how we can tie it to jQuery inside of that function. Inside of that function is where you would do all your jQuery manipulation. All right. Okay. Thank you.